It wasn't until I suffered the devastation of my mother losing her battle to cancer that something was awakened in me. My mother was my source of strength. When she was living, I would disappoint her. But when she was gone, I just didn't ever want to be less than she thought I could be. How many people in this room have failed in your life? What I found was failure was as great a teacher as success. Being likable is an asset that will carry you through everything. Do you know when you truly have survived cancer, you're back to sweating the small stuff. I go, you know, you've given a second chance at life. What are you going to do with it? You know, when you're going to start a business, right, you need like 3 things. Passion, you need skill, and you need knowledge, right? But the cornerstone of all that is ethics and integrity. You're not going to be successful unless you're an ethical person and unless you're willing to work hard. I was able to grow, and I was able to learn, and I was able to do whatever it took. It didn't matter what it was. If I show up every day, if I give the best that I've got every single day, and if I learn a little bit from my mistakes and failures, anything and everything is possible. Every single one of us are going to have failures. We're going to have, things that we're going to be battling with all the time. It's about how you get up. Only disability in life is a bad attitude. I believe that. You know, after every championship, there's 10 minutes of just, this is the greatest feeling in the world. And then after 10 minutes, it's like, back to work. Whatever you've accomplished, whatever you've succeeded in, you get to hang on to that for the rest of your life. Nothing can ever take that away. You gotta face it, and you gotta go after it. You never give up, and you let good things happen to you. Because you show up, you work hard, and you don't squeeze the life out of something. You gently place it in your hand and celebrate every moment.
Our speaker successfully bridged the gap between sports and entertainment. He is a motivational speaker, television broadcaster, best-selling author, humanitarian, cancer survivor, eternal optimist, and one of the most popular figure skaters in the world. As a champion and survivor, he is a constant reminder that with faith, fortitude, and determination, anything is possible. Would you please welcome to the stage Olympic gold medalist, Scott Hamilton.
Oh my! Well, that's something. Hi, everybody. I got to tell you, this is the first time I've ever spoken after eating Chick-fil-A. Ever. And I've got a little bit of that chocolate chip cookie stuck right here, so you have to forgive me a little bit. But what an incredible conference this is. I've met so many incredible people, like really super nice people. Like everybody's nice, like really nice. Like, no, not just nice, but genuinely nice. And it's awesome to be here with all of you. Because that's not necessarily the way that I live my life. I'm kind of drawn to people that challenge me a little bit, people that may or may not be like me a little bit. Like one of my closest friends lives out in California, and he's kind of crazy. Like he's really crazy, but he's kind of like the guy, like the friend every guy has to have. Example. Guys, I was dating a girl for about 6 weeks. Her name is Tracy. And I was sitting there watching sports with my friend, and he looked over at me and he goes, "You gonna marry her?" And I said, "I don't know." And he goes, "Have you looked in the mirror lately?" These are friends guys have to have, right? No, that's just like reality check. Okay, well, it's a 3, 2, 1. Okay, I better propose this afternoon and get it all done. But then we were sitting around one time, and this is my favorite. We're just sitting around, and he has all these crazy thoughts, and he goes, "Hey, I got my new thing." I go, "What's your new thing?" And he goes, "Personal ads." Personal ads. Do you remember personal ads? Okay, well, go back. Do you remember newspapers? Well, you'd put an ad for yourself in this newspaper trying to like get somebody interested in you as a human being. And he said, but here's the thing. It's like, not like those personal ads. You've got to be 100% honest. And I thought about it. And he goes, I'll give you some time. Think about it. I want to hear it. And I go, okay. Got it. And he goes, let's hear it. Short, bald, half-neutered, chemoed, radiated, surgically repaired, retired male figure skater of unknown ethnic origin seeks a beautiful, intelligent woman for long walks, laughter, and an interest in my hobby for collecting life-threatening illnesses. Dream come true, right? I mean, I got to take her. She's awesome. Unknown ethnic origin. I was adopted at 6 weeks of age. And I remember it like it was yesterday. My parents brought me home in a blanket, and they showed me to my sister, and she took one look at me, and she was like 4.5, and she said, he's not very cute. Can we take him back and exchange him for another baby? We've gotten past it now, pretty much. But growing up as an adopted child in this family was unbelievable. It was just, I don't know, it was a perfect fit. My mom was a 4x4 and a nurturer by nature, and she was just love, love, love. And my dad was a PhD professor of biology who was an ROTC, never took a drink in college. Perfect combination for parents. So growing up, if you're a birth child, there's probably expectation. You know, it's like my parents are both in academia. If they had a birth child, probably going to be pretty smart. If they're both in athletics, you know, their kids are probably going to be interested in sports. When you're an adopted child, it's like, I don't really know what's going to happen here. So they were really cool at kind of just standing back and kind of letting me kind of be drawn to whatever and allowing whatever it was to be revealed over time. And it was really fun. Like I was bold, I was adventurous. Like if my dad was cleaning out the gutters, you know, he'd leave the ladder up against the roof of the house. And the next thing you hear is like, that's a pretty big squirrel. Oh no, Scott's on the roof again. So they'd try to grab me down, and I was 3, and things like that. So, it was just, I was crazy. I was just having so much fun, and I liked to do impressions. I liked to, just make people laugh. I just loved smiling. I love laughter. I love joy. So my parents just said, okay, we'll just tap into that later on, however that works. And my mom taught me how to read when I was in preschool, and it was just really just a joy to grow up in this household. But parents, that counter that's in your kitchen, the one that your kids, when they're little, they run under all the time, and you just know one day they're going to grow up just enough to think they're going to make it under that counter and bash their head. That never happened to me. I just kept sailing under the counter. And it was, my parents realized, again, when you're an adopted child, they don't know how big I'm supposed to be. They don't know what, kind of background I had. They don't know anything. It's just flying blind. So they realized that I was then starting to show signs of stress. I wasn't digesting my food properly. I wasn't developing properly. I wasn't growing. So it started my 4-year journey. I call it my first tour, from hospital to hospital to hospital to hospital. They had to figure out what was wrong. They didn't know if it was a food allergy, so they took me off dairy, they took me off sugar, they took me off flour. Birthday parties were not fun at all. And maybe it's that. No, it's not that. Well, so I'd go into the hospital and I'd spend night after night after night, week after week, and they would do test after test after test. And my mom was with me every single day. We started in my hometown of Bowling Green, Ohio. They couldn't come up with an answer after the first year, so we went to a bigger hospital with bigger doctors, and they couldn't figure it out either. So after being around there for a year, we went to a bigger hospital with bigger doctors, and University of Michigan, Ann Arbor. And it was at that children's hospital that this wonderful doctor sat my mother down, and she said, well, we thought it was cystic fibrosis. It's not. But just checking his trajectory and how this is all looking, we think he may have 6 months to live. And so my mom, who you would absolutely adore, she'd say, thank you so much for all your time, for all of your abilities, for everything that you poured into my child. We'll be leaving now. And so we got up and we went to the biggest hospital with the biggest doctors, Boston Children's Hospital. And my mother grew up in Boston. My dad grew up right outside, so we had lots of family around and they had a place to stay. My mom would always sleep in the chair in the corner of the room. Children's hospitals back then in the mid-'60s aren't what they are now, right? And so she would sleep in a chair. And then some nights when I'd be there alone, it was, frightening and tough. But I always knew I was well cared for. I just knew it. Something just told me I'm fine. You're good. I learned how to be very independent. But it was in that last hospital everybody thought by that point I had a disease called Shwachman-Diamond syndrome. Shwachman-Diamond syndrome. Sounded like an expensive disease. But I was lucky enough to be able to be seen by Dr. Shwachman himself. And he put me through all of his tests. I had every single symptom of this disease, test after test after test. They even put a string down my mouth. They had me swallow this weighted string so they could check to see if I had any intestinal blockage. And there was a spool of string on my shoulder. And I was playing in the playroom one day, and a little boy was coming by with an airplane. And he got a little too close to my string, and it got tangled up. And I'm like, "Guk, guk, 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 guk." And he got scared and ran away, and the nurse came in and thought, I did it. So for the next 3 days of the test, I was in a straitjacket. These are some of the fun memories that I have of that time in my life. And like to this day, there's a lot of people that would like to do that to me, but at the end of all of that, Dr. Shwachman sat down with my parents, and he said, he doesn't have Shwachman-Diamond syndrome. We don't know what he has. We can't figure it out. There's something going on that we don't know. But here's the only advice I can give you. Go home, live a normal life, and just see, maybe he'll grow out of this thing. We can't treat it if we don't know what it is. And so my mother was grateful for that, and I went home, and he said, oh, by the way, take him off all the restrictive diets. And I'm like, yes! It's like birthday cake, finally! And I went home, and the only thing I had to do was take a supplement. Okay, people, you know how when you go to like a drugstore and they have like their medications that are flavor of the month, whether it be cherry or grape or bubble gum? Flavor of the month back then for my supplement was chalk. Not vanilla chalk, not chocolate chalk, chalk. And so the glass was about that big and about that big around. I exaggerate. And I'd have to drink this thing every day. And my mom said, for all we know, it's the only thing keeping you alive. Hey, she loves first, right? So I take this drink, and it was awful. It was just awful. It was child abuse. Honestly, it was child abuse. And so I take the drink, and I finally get it down. And I got to a point where I realized that the only choice I had now was to become a pathological liar. Mom, I'm going to go, like I gagged on this yesterday. Can I go in the bathroom and drink it in case I get sick? Sure, honey. Oh, that was awful. Why do you make me drink this? And, of course, after you get away with that for a few days, you get sloppy, right? Hi, Mom. You have to drink this. No, I will not. You have to drink this. I will not drink this. You have to drink this. And so we went to our family physician, and he says, I have a compromise. We'll stick a tube up through his nose, down his esophagus, and then you can feed him through the tube, and he never has to drink it again. I'm like, when? And so that picture you saw in the video of the tape and the nose tube, that was how I lived back then, and it was joyful. It would be drip, 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 and then when they leave the room, and I'd just crank it open, and I'm like, and I'd get through this thing. But my parents were shattered and exhausted. Shattered, exhausted. And it was really tough on, they just, after a 4-year adventure of this unknown childhood illness, they just had nothing left. And they'd adopted another child. I didn't know if it was insurance or they just really wanted a big family. But, sorry. But it was there that our doctor came to my parents and said, you need a morning off. A morning off. And how are we going to do that? We have these children to raise. You need a morning off. Well, how are we going to do that? And he said, well, there's a brand new facility at Bowling Green State University where Saturday mornings from 8 to noon, they teach children how to ice skate. 100 plus kids, totally supervised, 100% safe. He'll be with my kids. His sister can go. But you need that morning just to be still, be with the new baby, and just relax. Just be quiet. Just recharge your batteries. And so I went to the rink, and that first day I walked in, had my little nose tube taped to the side of my face, and I saw 120 well kids. And it was like awesome. I was used to being around sick kids, but not well kids. And so I'm looking at all these well kids, and it's like, this is going to be so much fun. And they looked at me, and they went, and I go, hi. And they go, what's wrong with you? I go, what do you mean, what's wrong with me? They go, what's wrong with you? And it's like, I go, I'm nothing. I just knew I just never skated before. What's that thing coming out of your nose? And I go, it's a nose tube. They feed me. Wait a minute. You've never been fed through your nose before? Who's the weird one here? And so I knew I was different. And I'd get out there and I'd hang onto the wall and I'd find a way to, and I'd let go and I'd hang onto the wall and let go. And it took several weeks, but I realized after several weeks that I could skate as well as the kids in my grade. Oh, what's that? After a few more weeks, I could skate as well as the best athletes in my school. I'm here to tell you that self-esteem is the most powerful agent on the planet. If you feel good about yourself, as God wants us to feel good about his creation, it changes the air in the room. It changes everything. And I realized that I could do something. I could do something. I had something I could do. And as I skated, and my parents had to threaten me to get me off the ice, I was on every single public session. I was doing all these things. I lived at the rink because it was the first time I've ever felt good and felt good about myself. And my health took a 180. I started to grow. My legs started to grow. I started to develop muscle. And my mom was like, look at your thighs. And it's like, Mom, don't look at my thighs. That's weird. And so it was miraculous. I got better. And so I just went to the rink and I became a skater. The only problem was those chain link fences that went around the rink, they have glass now. See, if it were glass back then, all I'd hear is like, but instead it's chain link fence and it's, hey, twinkle toes. Hey, ballerina on skates. Do something pretty. And I was being teased and bullied like there was no tomorrow. Being a male figure skater in a very small town is like, okay, not the best thing. So I went to my mom and I said, Mom, I'm going to start playing hockey. No, you're not. Yes, I am. No, you're not. Yes, I am. No, you're not. I go, look, I'm getting just bludgeoned. I'm getting teased. I'm getting just tortured. I skate better than all of them. Can I just play hockey and shut them up? And she goes, but you're a figure skater. And I go, I'll still figure skater. I just need to shut up these kids. And so I played hockey for 2 neck braces. And then it was obvious. My first jersey was a Boston Bruins jersey. And the jersey came down to here. It was the smallest one they had. And I came out of my jersey, and all the guys were like, hey, all right, you're one of us. And I go, I'm wearing a dress. It's like, how is this better? Anyway, I gave up hockey, went all into figure skating, and it became apparent that if I was ever going to go anywhere, I needed to go to a training center. So we found a place in Illinois. I went there, and Janet Lynn skated there. Do y'all remember Janet Lynn? Oh, angel on skates, an unapologetic, devoted, evangelical, unbelievable woman of God, and just I'm blessed to be in her company. And I hear from her every day now. We've just become really close friends in our adult years. But back then, I was scared out of my mind. I was in a strange town, left home for the very first time, and I'm sitting on this bench in the rink, and I'm scared. And all of a sudden, I feel his presence next to me, and it's Janet Lynn. Okay, keep your cool. She's sitting next to you. I think she wants something. Hi. She said, hi, I'm Janet. I know. Okay, I was 13 years old. And she said, I want to welcome you to the rink, and I just hope you enjoy it here. I just have one thing to share with you that I just feel compelled to share with you. I go, anything? And she goes, whatever you do in your skating is yours for the rest of your life, and it can never be taken away from you. And I said, okay, thank you. I had no idea what she was talking about. But to this day, it's wisdom beyond all wisdom, because I realized with each success and failure that, you know, you kind of learn from the failures and you hang on to your successes. So I wasn't very good. That year that I skated with her at the Wagon Wheel, she won her last championship. In fact, I know that vividly because the Senior Ladies Championship event, her last nationals, the last nationals of the most popular woman athlete in the world, standing room only, 17,500 people. My event was the one right before it. I rose to the occasion 5 times. I fell 5 times in a 3-minute program. How do you have time to fall 5 times in a 3-minute program? I came in dead last. I must have cried for a week. My mom was there to hug me and kind of see me through, and she goes, you're going to show them next year. So the next year I went back to nationals, and I was 9th in that year before, and I went back in, and I only fell twice this time, and I came in 9th again. And so I figured, well, I might as well go up to the junior level because I'm really crushing it in novice. And juniors, I got a double axel that summer, and I went there, and I beat 2 guys. Not good. See, if you're a girl in figure skating and you medal, you're really good. If you're a boy in figure skating and you don't medal, you have no business being in figure skating because there's not that many guys. And so I knew I had a problem. And so we came home from that nationals, and my mom said, family meeting. And I go, what's a family meeting? And she said, well, I wanted all to sit down. I just have some news to share with you. Big smile on her face. She goes, I've just come from the doctor, and I've been diagnosed with a disease called cancer. And I'm going to have some medicine that may not make me feel good. I'm going to have some surgery maybe, but I'm going to need some extra help around the house. And so she was doling out kind of the duties that we're going to need to shore her up. And then she looked at me and she said, and you, mister? I go, yes, ma'am. She said, we're almost bankrupt. We've kept you in skating all these years because it's been a miracle. But now we have to say this is your last year. We'll get you through this last year. It's your senior year in high school. You'll get through your skating year. You'll come back, finish school. And then since we're both professors at the university, you can start next year free. We can afford free. Free's good. Okay. So I went back to Illinois to train, and my coach had retired. A new coach stepped in, and he was tough, really tough. And I figured, well, it's my last year in skating. I might as well submit. And boy, did he crack the whip on me. And I was just like, well, it's my last year. I'll do whatever he wants me to do. About 2 weeks before the nationals, I landed my first triple Salchow. And I go, wow, good time to quit skating right after I start landing triples. Timing is everything. And we get to the nationals. It was at this place called the Broadmoor in Colorado Springs, Colorado. And it was in this arena that's now a golf course hotel. But anyway, it was a magical place. And I went out to do the warm-up for my long program, and I was looking at my mom was in the corner wearing a sling. Her left breast had been removed with most of her left arm, and she was wearing a wig because she'd lost all her hair, and she had the biggest smile on her face I'd ever seen. And my coach said, warm up, don't warm up the triple Salchow. I go, why? And he said, because we don't want to know if it's there or not. I go, good coaching. All right, that's good. So I went a couple doubles in the warm-up, and I came off, and it was my turn to skate. And I went around, did my first jump, it was nice, and I went around, did the triple sow cow, and I go, who cares? Threw this thing, and I landed it. See, normally my position in the hardest jump in the program on my landing would be this. But it was this. And I got so excited that I landed my first triple in competition that I forgot to screw up the rest of my program, and I won junior nationals. See, I needed that because there was a coach in Colorado, in Denver, who was coaching a girl that year named Dorothy Hamill to the Olympics that wanted an American man, and he had a sponsor for that American man. So I had a sponsorship. And I all of a sudden, my mom knew it. That's why she was smiling the whole time. And so that year, I turned 18. I was sponsored, and I got my own apartment. Parents, it's called the trifecta. I was horrible that year, and I went to nationals. I don't even know how I made it to nationals that year. I was lost. Like it was just that age, of just being kind of. I went to do nationals, and I fell on my first jump, and I fell right on that muscle right here, and so the rest of the program, my leg was kind of doing that, and I go, wow, this is really cool. If I was skating to Elvis right now, I'd be crushing it. I came in 9th. 2 months later, I'm sleeping on the couch in the family room because we were in my mom's room till about 3 o'clock in the morning. And my brother-in-law woke me up, and he said, your mother is gone. And all I could think to say was, I know. So I went for a walk. I walked in her backyard. I walked and I walked. How am I going to do this without her? I love her. I never wanted to know a day without her. How am I going to do this without her? And something in my mind just clicked and said, honor her. Honor her. And so I would take her to the ice with me every single day. If I didn't feel like I could be on time for a patch session, be on time, honor her, I was on time. If I didn't feel like doing a long program run through because they're exhausting, honor her, I did a long program run through. And the next season, I was ranked 3rd in the United States and 11th in the world, honoring my mom and grieving her in the only way I knew how, to try to be the person that she always dreamed I could be. And so from there, 2 years later, I'm at the Olympics in Lake Placid, get carried the flag in the opening ceremonies. Why am I the 3rd guy in a 3-man team carrying the flag in the opening ceremonies? It's like, I'm a tourist here. I have no chance for a medal. And it was because of the journey. So I went in for the parade uniform fitting, and they said, what's your shoe size? I said 6. And they go, 7.5, okay? Story of my life. So I'm wearing my big brother's clothes as the athlete leading everybody into the opening ceremonies in Lake Placid. And the worst thing was my hat was too big, and it kept coming down over my eyes, so I was having to do this. And I'm thinking the whole way in, they must think that I got elected to carry the flag because I have a condition. So it was an unbelievable Olympics. It was just festive. The hockey team won, go USA. It was just awesome. Eric Heiden won every medal and every gold medal and it was just amazing. I just felt so honored to be an Olympian for the rest of my life. And then something happened. The next 4 years, I never lost a competition. So basically, figure skating was at its lowest place in history. But as I'm standing on the podium in Sarajevo, it's like, what am I doing here? I mean, I was happy and I was relieved and I was just honored and I was proud to represent my country in that way. But I was sad that the journey was over, and I was lost, that I didn't know who I was, and I was just devastated that my mom couldn't see this moment that she always dreamed about. And so it was a crazy time, and I was broke. I was living in my best friend's parents' basement, and just they were taking care of me, and I was 25 years old. It's like time to get to work. So I joined the Ice Capades. They told me that you guys, they call you guys, right? Whenever you get labeled you guys, it's like, oh no, they have bad expectation. They go, you Olympians, you think the work's over, you're going to miss shows, you're going to party, you're going to miss press calls. And it's like, no, I'm going to be a perfect employee. So after 2 years of never missing a show and a press call, the president of Ice Capades comes up to me and he goes, let's walk. Anytime anybody puts their arm around you and starts to walk, it's never good. I had a third-year option, but a new owner was coming in, and basically the president of Ice Capades said, congratulations, you did it better than anyone's ever done it, and the new owner only wants women, so good luck. I was let go. My manager at IMG said, hey, you want to help us build a tour? And I go, let me check my calendar. So here's my passive aggression. I'm little, I can do that. Has anyone seen Ice Capades lately? Pausing for effect. Oh, that's right. They went out of business. They just didn't have enough men to sell tickets for them. So. Anyway, I was given an opportunity to build Stars and Ice. It was doing really well. And in year 13 of my professional career, unbelievable, I couldn't stand up straight anymore. And when you're 5'0" and you're trying to sell to the last row in a 15,000 seat auditorium, this isn't good. I thought I worked myself into an ulcer, and I just couldn't. So finally, 50 cities into a 60-city tour, I went into Peoria Medical Center, this St. Francis Medical Center, and I asked them to just give me some medicine for an ulcer. I knew I worked myself into an ulcer, and they, after doing 7 hours of tests, they sat me down, they go, we found a mass, and I'm like, he goes, what's so funny? I go, no one's ever used the word mass in description of me before. And he goes, well, this is either benign, malignant, or something else. And I realized 20 years almost to the month I lost my mom, I'm being diagnosed with the same disease. And the fear was unbelievable. I just saw myself diminishing and suffering and dying. And I don't know if it was 5 minutes, 5 seconds, or a nanosecond, that fear flipped. Like something in me just flipped where I was like, no. I choose whether I survive this thing or not. And I'm coachable, so I could probably be a pretty good patient. I went the next day to the Cleveland Clinic. They did a biopsy. They all walked in, doctors with their tablets, that knowing look, arm gently waving. They sit down, they go, Mr. Hamilton, we found the source of your problem. I go, yes, and he goes, you have a stage 3 germ cell testicular origin tumor, I go, no, time out. And they go, what's wrong? I go, I have cancer there. They go, you have testicular cancer. It's like, no, that's not going to work. No, that's not going to work. No, that's not going to work. And they go, no, if you had to choose a cancer, this is a really good one. I go, who would choose a cancer? No. And so they go, no, what's your problem? I go, I'm a public person. A huge portion of the people that follow my career are women, and these are my boys. I'm going to have to go on the Today Show. Okay, I'll talk to Matt about this, but not Katie, all right, because that's just, And they go, no, you need to take this thing seriously. And I go, I don't. Something in my spirit said, I don't. So my nurse got it right away. She would show up in my room with chemo bags covered with Mylar and Snoopy stickers and say it's party time. I had SpongeBob and Scooby-Doo Band-Aids. She had banana popsicles in my freezer in my room, and they treated me like a pediatric patient, and it was awesome. 38-year-old guy, and they're treating me like I'm 8 years old. And they got the joke. No one was allowed in my room unless they made me laugh. And, the chemo was 8-hour infusions, 5 days a week, 16 days off, 8-hour infusions, 5 days a week, 16 days off. So the tumor went down to the size of a golf ball. I found it was twice the size of a grapefruit. A guy my size, really? Really? How does that happen? It's because I wasn't paying attention. I didn't think cancer could happen to me. I was too busy. I was booked. So they have a surgery, and it ended up being an incision from here all the way down, fillet of Scott. 38 staples, scared to death. The doctor goes, why are you scared? And I go, have you ever done one of these before? And he goes, I've done 7 this month. I go, let's get started. So when you get back to life, something happens. I decided that I wasn't living my life the way I was supposed to. I was convicted saying I was all work, all money, all this, all fame, all this, and I didn't like it. I didn't like that anymore, and I realized that I had a second chance in life, and I could decide how I wanted to live. I loved to skate. I loved to be in front of an audience. I loved wearing spandex and making a fool out of myself for the enjoyment of others. And so I couldn't wait to get back to that, and I thought in the process maybe I could inspire some cancer patients. And looking back on my life, I saw this pattern. You know, if you ever do a timeline, it was like I would have this incredible blessing, and then a curse would come on the other side of it. And then this blessing would happen, then a curse, and then a blessing, then a curse. And I look back and I thought, I don't want anything good to happen to me anymore because something bad always happens. I don't want anything good anymore. I just want to just live, and I don't want any bad stuff. No more good stuff. I just don't want bad stuff. And I thought that it was like for every blessing there was an equal curse. And so I stepped away. I would work really hard. I'd do my shows. And then I'd go into the place where I knew I could be alone, isolated, and completely ignored and left my own devices, LA. Okay, perfect for that. Great place to be alone. And I was 3 years into that. I didn't really get involved with it. I just felt toxic in a way, and I just wasn't settled. And on the 3rd anniversary of me being diagnosed with cancer, March 17th, 2000, I'm backstage. Tony Thomas of Danny Thomas fame, we were fundraising through Stars and Ice for St. Jude in Target House, and he had guests come to the show that night. And I thought, Tony's dating. All right, my guy. And so this girl was sitting out by the production office, and I go, I want to see what Tony's up to. So I went over and I introduced myself after the show, and she's standing there. And I met her, and I talked to her for about 10 minutes, and I walked away, and I thought, okay, it's time to get off the bench. If I can meet someone like her, if I can meet someone like that, and it would do that to my heart, my spirit, good for Tony, but okay, it's time for me to start opening up for a relationship. So I went back to Denver. I'm playing golf with Tony in LA months later, and I went back to LA, not Denver. I went back to, we're playing golf, and Tony's like, okay, call you later. We'll have dinner tonight. Okay, love you. Bye-bye. And he hangs up the phone. I go, is that girl from Memphis? And he goes, girl from Memphis? Tracy? And I go, I don't remember her name. I just remember that she was amazing. And he goes, no. That wasn't a date. She's like my little sister. And I go, oh. And he goes, do you like Tracy? I go, who wouldn't? I go, she's unbelievable. And he goes, what? It's funny you should ask about her. I think she's moving to LA this week. Can I get her number? So Tracy, about 3 weeks later, we finally get together. We have dinner, and we've been together ever since. What I didn't know was a couple things. On the way home from the show after meeting me, she was with her cousin Gina. And Gina goes, how was backstage? And she goes, oh, it was really fun. I actually got to talk with Scott Hamilton for a while. And Gina goes, what's he like? And she said, you know, that's the type of man I see myself marrying someday. Never thinking she would see me again. Providential. God at work. It was about, probably 6 weeks into our dating. She goes, I'm really enjoying our time together, but I have to ask you a very important question. I go, you can ask me anything, like anything. And she just said, where are you in your relationship with Jesus Christ? And I said what any smart guy would say. Where do you want me to be? And she goes, no, it's a serious question. I say, I am so confused. I pray all the time. I know there is a God. I don't understand this Jesus thing all the way. I know he's a really good guy and a lot of people love him, but I don't know. I don't know. I have all these feelings about denominational things and why people don't like each other when it's the same Jesus, same Spirit, same God. Why? I need to understand. She goes, okay, talk to my pastor. So I talked to her pastor, and he goes, I couldn't agree with you more. When? The next 6 weeks were a series on the prodigal son. And I fell in love with the faith community. I fell in love with God. I finally understood why there were things in my spirit that I couldn't identify, but were there. Why did my Olympic gold medal live in my underwear drawer for 12 years? Because it was an idol. I didn't want to look at it. I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to touch it. I couldn't wait to get rid of it. It's about a block away from here in the museum. And it's like, and I hope it's in a drawer or something. But I knew there was all these things that just, the Lord was in there and he was doing his work. I just didn't recognize it. And so with my health history, we wanted to have a family. And so we got engaged in September, married in December, and we had our first child September of the next year. Are we doing the math? And we did it in order, by the way. Everything in order. So I look at my child, and I see my eyes, and I'm looking at flesh of my own flesh for the very first time. And I was taken back to this cancer survivor celebration I attended, where a girl stood up at the podium. She had one leg missing, 17-year-old girl, athlete in school, lost her leg to cancer, and she said, cancer is the worst thing that ever happened to me. And everybody nodded their head. They were all survivors. And she said, but I'm here to tell you that cancer is the best thing that ever happened to me. And I'm here to tell you today, cancer was the best thing that ever happened to me. I was living my life in a way that it didn't honor God. It was just living. It was just surviving. It was just, and he moved me. He allowed me to go through a period of suffering to reveal my real nature and to allow me to step into a new life with him. It wasn't accidental. There are no coincidences. They're all God's scheduled opportunities, right? And as I look back on my life, I realized that it wasn't for every blessing there was a horrible curse. You see, I was an unwanted, unintended pregnancy. And I was adopted. And then I got sick, and I found skating. And then I wasn't very good, and I got better. And then I lost my mom, and I found my character. And for every curse, there was an equal blessing. And I realized that that's what God holds for all of us, is the blessing of stepping into a life with him. A life that is just living in the spirit of everything Jesus tells us is good for us and is right for us. And so, I'm living with this, we have a baby and we're living our lives, and I've got this optimism, and it's great. And I'm diagnosed with a pituitary brain tumor. I'm lucky in cards too. It's right there. When I told my wife, she just grabbed both of my hands and she started to pray without even skipping a beat. Not one beat of recognition besides, Father, help us. And I realized in that time too, this is early on in my faith, that I knew where everything was going to go. And so they radiated it along with the rest of my brain, my behavior is because of that. But we wanted another child, and now I had testicular cancer and a pituitary brain tumor So I would give myself 6 shots a week for 2 years, nothing. And so Tracy, I go, this is like, it's like $30,000 a year. I don't care about the money. I want a baby. I know you do too, but it's not working. And she said, if God wants us to have another child, we will. And so I went off the shots. And about 6 weeks later, Tracy informs me by this pic text, which is hysterical, that we're expecting another child. So it's delivery day. Water breaks, we go to the hospital. She's like, getting the baby. Baby comes out. Flaming red hair. I'm Irish. All questions will be answered if we live long enough. But it was in those brain tumors. I had one come back in 2010, and then another one in 2016 that's still right there, that I'm praying on, keeping an eye on, and just hoping that the Lord will just take it away. That I realize that, every single day is a gift. And it's a cliche. No, it's a gift. See, our bodies are incredibly vulnerable, susceptible to so many different things, right? They're also equally resilient, but ultimately temporary. So what are we going to do with our days? How are we going to live them? And in that knowledge, I realized that in the last brain tumor diagnosis, they said, here's your treatment option, surgery or a medical option. All I hear is blah, 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 blah. But in the back of my mind, in my spirit, it's saying, get strong, get strong, get strong. And they go, so what do you want to do? You want to go towards the surgery or the medical option? I go, I'm going to go get strong. I don't know if it meant physically, emotionally, intellectually, or spiritually. I got to go get strong. And they go, oh, okay. Well, we'll reach out to you, soon. So, reading the Bible, I come across Scripture, and I read it 1,000 times. I'm reading it again. Love the Lord with all of your heart, all of your mind, all of your strength, and all of your soul. Get strong. See, if you get strong in the Lord, miraculous things happen. If you shore yourself up, if you live each day authentically in faith and in love for people that don't even deserve it, that's living, truly living. And it's strength that's unshakable. As I told you in my personal ad, short, bald, half-neutered, chemo-radiated, surgically prepared, retired male figure skater of Irish descent, I'm not easily insulted. I do a pretty good job of that on my own. But I know I'm loved yesterday, today, and forever by a living, loving, amazing, gorgeous God, 3 in 1, that sees me through each day as he does each and every one of you. So, get strong. Get strong. Get strong. God bless you all. Thank you so much. Thank you.